Let's try this for a third time. Third time's a charm. Well, it worked the first time, but I wasn't quite logged in. There it goes. Yay. We are back. All right. So today's going to be part of a two-parter. It's going to be short, so today's going to be 2 batches, 24 photos. Tomorrow's going to be 3 batches, 36-ish. This is part of a really interesting trip I took back in 2006 where I went on used the Boston section of the Lakeshore Limited. Boston section of Lakeshore Limited, doing, something you can do drive in 2.5 hours, taking 6. But both back then as today, both today and back then, Amtrak was placing things on the rear of the Lakeshore Limited that would interfere with a reverse view, and the Lakeshore, the Boston section was a welcome exception to this. 2005, it was express cars. Today, it's a baggage car. Either way, the Boston section does not have those, so you can look out the back. And I remember I even got they let me ride in the rear vestibule, which was always fun. Anyway, just starting out here. I'm going to be using for reference, like I said, this is a 2006 photo, so I do have references for these. Also, this is an interesting case where quite a few of the photos that I did back in 2006, I just put on the cutting room floor. I processed poorly. They're small size, etc., etc. Usually, all the same issues that I'm trying to fix. So we're starting off with this picture here. This shows the location of was the old. Well, that's the old crappy version of the photo. Here's what it should look like. The old Albany, the what is now this is shortly after the construction of the New York State Senate President Joe Bruno Albany Rensselaer Rail Station. What you're seeing here is the old Albany Rensselaer Rail Station, which was 3 tracks of low-level platforms. Today, they've actually extended the new twin high-level platforms out towards that bridge over there and reconstructed CP-143 as part of the General Albany Terminal resignaling and improvement program. But here we can see at this point, I think the Lakeshore Limited was running as a shuttle. The normal Chicago section was so late or so long or so whatever that you would just join up with the shuttle train, and there was no sleeper on it, no dining car. It was just you'd sort of switch across the platform to the shuttle, which was like 3 coaches and a cafe, which had like a business class maybe. But either way, that was up front, and you had coaches in the back. So here we can see, even though I distinctly remember the Amtrak Express services ending in 2005, here we have some of their express track reefers on the back of the Lakeshore. I'm not sure if these went to New York or if they were going to get cut off here in Albany or somewhere else along the line. I think they did go to the New York, but I can't really remember. Here I labeled this with a CP-143, but I think this is a really poor name. What am I calling my Albany Rensselaer station? Albany Station? I don't know. I want to go check on that. I'm going to definitely rename this one. This is just a terrible name that's not capturing in any way the importance of what is in the photo. No. Here we go. Infrastructure. Don't really want to get off this infrastructure one. Let's call it like. There we go. That's a better way to describe that one. A little bit of long. Just probably destroy that thing right there. Give this a second. Make sure I'm saving it the proper quality. Anyway, all of this is gone now. It's been replaced by extended high-level platforms. Also, they finished the 4th track. oddness. So, as like I said, we were doing an across the platform transfer at this time. Albany had 3 tracks, 2 island platforms. This is the new for then station, and the what they call track 1, track 2, and the single track. Today, with the reconstruction, you now have track like 4 tracks straight across. At the time, the Post Road branch, which the only function it serves is for this Boston section of the Lakeshore Limited. It's at least leased by Amtrak, but it's definitely maintained by it. Jointed rail. It gets so little traffic that the jointed rail doesn't need to really be whatever. Anyway, our across the platform transfer required us to pull forward into through CP 142, as you see here, and then reverse back onto the single track, and then finally go out the Post Road to Boston. Not an amazing start to what is already, like I said, a 6-hour trip to go what you can drive in probably 2.5. 3 if you aren't really blasting it. Not everybody out there is a super aggressive driver. Let's see what I called this back in the day. Just going to try to get through this one quickly. So here we have cut this a little, whatever. Here we have a medium approach on the Dwarf. Oh man, this is another bad name. So let's see what I can call this. Probably be something like I'm not sure which track this is. I think it's track 1. Westbound, or it's northbound. Northbound, track 1, Dwarf, medium approach. Snow. These signals all no longer exist, and they might have been renamed a bit. Let's get these arranged by the proper things here. Let's make sure I'm not resizing this beyond 100%. That's always a schoolboy error when I do that by accident. There we go. Moving on. So here we have, I got to rename that other one because here we can see the medium approach is in the flashing state, and the other one is in the unflash. And train 48 is on its way out. So while we're preparing to do our backup move, we came straight out. We're gonna reverse into that single track. So we came straight out of that track there after the across the platform. Watch the mouse. Going to come back and into that single track right there, or sorry, right there. That's a track bed. It's not even there. Meanwhile, train 48, since we're just a shuttle, now he's going to come out. And again, once again, you see the conductor over here on the side. His silhouette as I'm shooting past him, which was not an easy feat with my camera at this time. We only had 3 megapixels of zoom. Not great. There we go. I'm going to rename this one too. Some of these names are just terrible. Alright, here we are in the midst of making our backup move, and train 48 is now coming out of the station. I had a lot of fun trips back then. I really wish, if I had had the digital I don't want to make excuses, but like I said, I say this probably in every damn these streams, that I just wish I had a digital, not even just the camera, just the memory capacity, more than 64 megabytes on a card. Sheesh. I mean, flash memory got better way fast. It's a shame that hard drives aren't increasing at the same speed they used to. I went from 64 megabytes to 1 gigabyte from between my first 2 generations of cards. And here we see, I think that's number 111. Here, let me unresize this and zoom in there. No, it's 711. So that's a P32 DMAC or whatever the heck that is. And the station, they said, is the station building is largely untouched the way today. They just reconfigured the tracks a little bit. They put in a new they redid the interlocking to allow more parallel movements. To allow they put in an engine change stub, all kinds of stuff. CP142 int northbound snow plus 711 coming out on train 48. There we go. Looks good. And of course, here we have. Remember, there's your switch there. It's reverse, going to reverses in what they call the single track. Remember, it's single track main line, both off the post road, and then around the thing. So they just kept that as what they call the single track back then. Now it's numbered along with everything else. And of course, me shooting over the shoulder of the conductor there. Can cut this in, make this a 3:4 aspect ratio, reverse switch. I don't really know the numbers. I mean, I could extrapolate what the switch numbers and things were. I have a couple of the numbers of the signals, but I don't really seem to do that. I need to do that. And also note the Heritage dining car right there and the 2 sleepers. When the head end stuff was on the head end. Let's just see what I did back in the day. Here he is. Yep. I'm just going to keep the same name. Oops. Oh, looks like I actually got some people. Welcome. Hope you enjoy it. This one will hopefully be entertaining. Today, the Amtrak 700 series P32 P32AC-DM are being painted in the Phase 3 New York State scheme. So here's one of the pictures that I dropped back in my original set because it turned out so poorly. But with everything, this is back. But of course, in this day and age of everything being screwed up, this is probably of one of the interlockings on the Boston line. So I'm going to switch to this little map view here, if it'll wake up and let me do what I want to do. So here's Albany. I'm going to move to a map view so we can see what's going on. So this little black line coming south out of there, that's the Post Road branch, about 13 miles long. It goes there to CP187. That's where the Boston line cab signaling without fixed wayside signaling starts. That was installed by Conrail. In New York State, there is one siding, or what it's not really a siding. It's a brief part of double track. It goes from it's CP176 to CP171. This is mileage from Boston, so that's the only siding between there and Pittston, which is at CP150. Conrail is always cheap about this kind of thing. So just because that's the only siding, and I know it's before Pittsfield, not Pittston, Pittsfield, Massachusetts. This is the eastbound signal at a westbound signal at CP171. So instead of just throwing it on the cutting room floor, I'm actually gonna just resize it and give it the save and just write it off as soft. So it's CP171. I can assume it's like a 2E mast, but whatever. Soft snow done. But that's part of the whole going back through these photos. You just want to make sure that nothing gets nothing. So this we have as the State Line Tunnel. I've actually been out to the State Line Tunnel manually in the snow. And here we have a year when I went out there, and it's just sort of doing its thing. So I'm going to give this a quick save, but then I'm going to go back to the State Line Tunnel is exactly what it says on the tin. It's a tunnel on the state line between Massachusetts and New York. It's almost exactly on the state line. It's just like 100 yards or so off. Ugh, that's a terrible name. See, I'm going CSX Boston Line State Line Tunnel. Well, I guess I'll keep that. It should have a milepost. But if we go back to our little map thing, it's right there, and I believe the state line is actually right there. So maybe it's about a mile away from the actual state line. That, of course, is the westbound, the westbound portal. This is a very popular photo location if you know your New York Central, Boston, and Albany historic rail fan photo things. Going to rename that to a more appropriate name. I've since, like I said, I tell everybody I've improved my naming conventions since back in the day. And here we see the full one. I should probably rename the other one to indicate that it's the North Bore or South Bore. And here we have, so one of the issues that I get in both this set, you can see, is just the blowing snow problem. If you get snow, you want it to be a number of days old or after a rain, so it's crusted over. Otherwise, you not only get the stuff blowing out the back, it'll swoop up and coat the back rear window. I don't think I had that problem just because maybe it was just dry enough and misty enough, but a lot of times it'll just come up and coat that rear window and completely destroy your ability to take photos. But there we have a full thing. I did hike out there, and I have hiked through the abandoned bore. Didn't see any trains going through though, unfortunately. Here we see some nice sun shots. I'm going to try to clean up. I'm going to use a clarify filter on this to try to remove a little bit of that snow haze. That's a good use for the clarify filter. You want to use it sparingly, or you wash out a lot of the stuff. But sorry, I wasn't using clarify. I was using a gamma adjustment. Clarify will desaturate it a bit, so if you ever use a clarify type filter, you want to come back in and resaturate it. I'm just gonna say South Portal. Wait, what? Oh, not South Snow. Just far. Yeah, now I can reduce the quality a little bit because it's well over what it needs to be. There we go. Here we are in Pittsfield. This is going to be the end of. I'm gonna go to the map. I'm gonna cut to the map. Again, it's way more. It's a little bit better if you see. Pittsfield is now the main problem. This all used to also explain the problem with the whole Boston and Albany, because you're cutting through the Berkshire Mountains. This is actually, if you see the sign, it's the highest point on I-90 between here and somewhere in Montana, which is very surprising. You'd think that the West is tall. It's not if you're on I-90, Ohio, New York State water level route all the way to Chicago and then across the Great Plains. You're not getting above. This is about at least an 1,800 foot, if not 2,000 foot summit in here. So the whole Boston line just goes up and down and up and down. It's like a giant sine wave. So while you're cutting straight across the strait on I-90, the Boston line is just going zigzag, zigzag. So here we have Pittsfield, and that's where the two tracks start. So this is CP 150, and you can even see that I put up a version of this same photo on Wikimapia here. So let's take a quick check of what I called this photo back in the day. Badunk. I don't know how these all got out of order when I was doing this. There it is. If I renamed them properly, then, if I named them properly. Yeah, see, you don't do CP ball. Okay, yeah, these are just improperly named. So, for Conrail interlockings, for old CPs, I generally won't prefix them with a line. The CP numbers, I probably should, but they're unique enough, and I don't get out to so many that it's not usually an issue. If I had done more on the Chicago line, it might be an issue, but I never got out there. Never got out there. So this is what you get in that whole issue of, like, let's say when I'm doing a resize here, I'm already at 76%. I could probably cut this a little bit better. Let me see if I can do that. You really can't see that, but at some point I'm going to run out of. There's, you can see the Pittsfield platform there. I'm just going to run out of an ability to zoom in without seriously, losing. At that point I'm not really gaining anything. There you go. You can't keep zooming, as Kif said. What is it? Making it larger doesn't make it any clearer. Alright, here we go. This is where I just wasn't paying attention and forgot I didn't notice the interlocking. Get a little quality bump there, just in case. I'm not working with a lot of bits in this whole thing anyway. Here we have the Pittsfield Transportation Center. Very nice station for minimal service. It would be nice if there was more service out here, but again, it's so hard to justify 6 hours. Now, what they think they want to do with Pittsfield is they think they want to bring up traffic from like Danbury up along the Housatonic River line and then end it here. That's what the New Haven ran a service up to Pittsfield via the Danbury branch. Incidentally, I was at Sono Tower Museum today, old SS 45. So you can see, and they talk about they have some old schedules and timetables there, and you can see where the daily Pittsfield train. Let's see. Is this? I'm gonna dead air this for a second. Come on. Jesus, that's the one. Yep. Terrible resolution. I was still in that habit of, like I said, resizing things for a 56K web. I'm going to rename this. I'm going to rename a lot of these. Sometimes my naming conventions were fine. Sometimes they were just dumb. I mean, just lazy. Probably because I was working later in 2006 where I started getting much, much better. I always abbreviate station to these days. No sense wasting those letters. There we go. All right, end of part 1. Make sure that I have the right things here. I'm going to have one more set. I know it's late tonight. I'm going to do one more set tomorrow night. Like I said, let's see what's going on in the old chat. What do I got? Oh. Yeah, I know. I don't know what they're doing with the baggage cars. It might be some weird thing to prevent rear-ending, like sandwich stuff in there. But at the same point, then you're putting your first-class people right behind the engines. I really don't know. Anyway, thanks everyone who's watching. I'm going to get back to getting this. Tomorrow I'm going to be in a I'll have more time to get started a little earlier, and I can do. It's not gonna be a huge amount of photos, but it'll be a nice set anyway. All right, here we are at the. You know what I did not pull up, and I really should have pulled up, but I didn't. I need to pull up the line diagram here. Let's go pull that out right now, if I can remember where it is. What the? Here we go. So here we have our Boston line timetable. Just remember, Post Road CP187. You have this CP171, CP176, what they call a controlled siding that's 5 miles long. It's really main 1, main 2 there. Here we are at Pittsfield. Now, CP150 is really the start of a 25-mile-long double track segment. I mean, this is not controlled siding. It's this honest-to-God double track. And the reason it's double track is because you're going over this is where you have most of the grades for the Berkshires. Even though the summit is west of Pittsfield, the real gradients are between CP123 and CP150. So they double track it. You know, for all the good it does. I don't know how much traffic's going to Boston these days, especially with NS, having their whole Pan Am Southern thing going on. Anyway, here we are coming out of Pittsfield. This is going to be CP147. Now, as of the early 90s, this line was still completely double-tracked using ABS 251 signaling, that largely sort of harkened back to the B&A days. I don't know if Conrail did a re-signal on it. It was using small target Michigan Central semaphores. I don't know. That could have been a New York Central thing. It could have been a Conrail thing. Either way, this was going to be like, Conrail was always about saving money, but this was like their wave. This was their wave of the future. What I call their wave of the future demonstrator line. This is the Boston line. I keep saying Boston. The Boston line is the is what Conrail would have looked like if Conrail kept going. As in, this is what there's this Conrail had this pre-modern period in the 70s and 80s when they were still doing things old school, position lights, central G heads, Rule 251 in places. The occasional tower. Boston line was sort of this Conrail vision of, wait, we've got cab signals. We don't have to leave cab signals in PRR territory. Anything we're going to do going forward, it's going to be dump, put in, if we can single track it, we single track it. We put in CTC, and we're going to do cab signals without fixed wayside signals. Here we have CP147. Eastbound masts, rear snoo. Oops, I misspelled that. So it's just interesting, and NS was really the one that was sort of picked up on the vision, mainly because they limited it to because NS inherited all the PRR territory. They continued this with the Cleveland line plan. I mean, Conrail also did this to the Fort Wayne line, but that was still in PRR territory. And then you saw, NS has been expanding cab signal territory. But CSX, they hate the Boston line. They're not a cab signal railroad except for the RF&P. They don't like cabs. And, the Albany line is this thorn on this side because they got to maintain a pool of cab signal equipped locomotives. But under Conrail, everything was cabs. Almost everything was cab signal equipped. And I believe if Conrail was still along, and resignaling, the Chicago line would have gone Rule 562, all the way to Chicago. Everything they would have done everything slowly with more and more cab signals. But this is, you can tell I am shooting directly out that rear window. I could not have done this in my pre-zoom days. I could not have done a lot of that stuff with my current with a 3x zoom camera. Here we have the next interlocking down. This would have been CP140, and I dumped this photo back in 2006. I just threw this in the trash, but. You never know. These signals going to get replaced with Darth Vader's, so it's still an increasingly valuable piece of railroad documentation that I did not anticipate. So I'm going to try my best here at cleaning this up. I'm going to hit this with a lot of clarify. I'm going to adjust, of course, the thing. I'm going to cut down on the redness on this. I mean, there's only so much I can do. Hit this with some gamma. Yeah, it's I just got a bad autofocus on this guy, so not much I can do. But this, like I said, it's CP140, very nice. You know, would have been nice with the sun's out. But it's nice that I can sort of go back and rescue some of these photos. Always save all your masters. I mean, you gotta, sometimes you can do a cut of the stuff that's, when I say trash, duplicate photos and other things. Now here is where I'm just going to, now I do have, I don't know where these were all taken. I just called it the Berkshire. I just renamed these generically, and I'm gonna keep these named generically because I just can't go and figure out where it all is. Oh, forgot to resize it. There we go. There we go. That looks good. So I'm just gonna give these generic names. This is you can tell this is the main gradient of the B&A here. I could probably figure out where that road, but like I said, I could figure out where a lot of this stuff is, but I just don't have the time or the inclination to go back and figure it out. That's always the problem with scenery photos. It can just be. I love the ice. I love the ice on this. There was some sort of storm the day before. I was visiting a friend at Rensselaer University, and there was a pretty sizable storm. The interesting thing is, fun fact, the day or two after a major snowstorm, Amtrak, you'd think it would impact passenger service, but Amtrak will generally run on time in those days because snowstorms close rail yards. And if the rail yards are closed, then a day or two, the next couple days, nothing's going to be running out. The freights aren't going to be hitting the yards, or they're not going to be hitting the road. So the freights that are out there on the day of the snowstorm will, of course, delay things. But the day or two after the snowstorm is when Amtrak runs on time. I've been in those situations where there was something like 20 or 30, 36 inches of snow dropped in the Albany area. And my train came through with no problems. And I was just like, why is it running on time? I was like, all the yards are closed. Here's another picture I'm sure I dropped. And this I believe, is going to be the end of this 2-track Berkshire gradient system. Give this a little zoom. I'm going to hit this with a bunch of the Clarify filter. Oh, see, that just zips it right up. Clears it right up, but it washes it out. So I'm going to increase the saturation, decrease the amount of red. And then there we go. Do the best you can. This is going to be CP123. These are the eastbound signals in the rear of them. Wonderful. Here again we see the front view of CP123. I'm wondering if I kept this picture back in the day or threw that one out too. Let's see. These are a little jumbled, so it's sometimes hard to tell. Albany, 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 Albany. There's this cut photos, beautiful photo there. No, I threw out that one too. So this is all this isn't even that bad. I bet I could even tell what the, I wonder if I can read what it says on the box there. Yep, CP123. So I'm going to give a quick cut. And a lot of this, like I said, is blowing snow. That was causing a lot of the problems for me to try to get pictures out the back. There we go. So there's actually a lot of good content here. Just filter that stuff out. try to get some of the saturation back, decrease the amount of red, do a resize and a sharpen. There we go. CP123. Yeah, here's where we had something very, very interesting happen. Even though now I think I said the snow was the immediate night before, so as I normally say, trains can run on time. In this case, we weren't quite as lucky because I think we were kind of caught up in the stuff there was stuff on the move still on. So what happened here was we had to do a sawback maneuver. So there was a train ahead of us on the main. So this is CP 109. Now you can see this thing that says CP 107. I believe that was removed. I am not entirely sure. Let's go to the map. Whoop, that's not the map. Come on. Oh, here's the map. Is it moving? Yeah, it's moving. Something's starting to bog down my computer there. So there we go. Leaving Pittsfield. There's CP140. So we have a crossover at CP147, crossover at CP140. There's the gradient all through there. If I pull up the satellite view, I mean, there's nothing to see. It's just all forests. Terrain will help. Come on. Probably would have to reload the page. There's the terrain. That's the cavern. I'm not kidding when I said it's a crazy gradient. That's the valley that the Boston and Albany follows all the way up to Pittsfield, and then it crosses the it cuts somehow through there. Look at that. That's just nuts. Meanwhile, I'm not entirely sure where I-90 is. I-90 just goes to the south. Anyway. Here we have CP109. I mentioned that. Alright, let's just see here. Map. CP107 used to be a diamond crossing, but the diamond crossing was removed. I think that it's still, let's see. Interlocking for BNA, PVRR, diamond was removed some time ago, making the, so it was, removed at some point. And I guess it's a trail now. But there's still a little connector track. Anyway. So this is CP109. This is on approach to Springfield Terminal. So whatever the issue was here at CP109, there was a train blocking the track going forward. Probably, Springfield Terminal does have a yard. So we had to do a sawback. That means we pull in, train passes, we back up, and then we go forward. Here we see CP109. You can read it says CP109 right there on the guy there. I sort of made this a little uneven. I'm gonna cut on that side and cut down a bit. There we go. Come on, there it goes. All right. Did I resize? Save. CP109. I believe that's the start of a main track, so that's going to be main track 1. And this was a limited clear. Conrail was pretty good at putting in limited speed switches when it was doing upgrades like this. So that's just the signal displaying for the train. And here we go with our actual train, and it is a CSX. That's an SD40M. It's in the Tier 1 configuration. with the better radiator. You had with the better intercooler, and I, for the life of me, do not know what this thing is. It's a 4200 series CSX SD40M. We can go to the CSX roster, try to see if we can narrow that down a little bit better. At least get a hundreds value on that. Should be the same. I hope it's the same. There they are. Oh, they're 70 max even. I bet some of those came from Conrail. So it's going to be a 75. It's probably going to be a 7500 series 70 Mac. Well, let's see. 1997. No, I bet this is going to be a 4700 series 70 Mac because it's got the split cooling. We can figure this out if I do an image search for Conrail 70 Mac, and we can see what kind of radiators that series had. Yeah, these had the flat radiators, so that means it's a 4700 series CSX. So I have the 4. It's like you're playing a Price is Right game. I got the 4, and I don't know what the hell the rest of this junk is. So I try to get I try to get my locomotive stuff as close as possible. I'm gonna this is important because things like 70 Max are tough to find these days too. So I like the way the trees are. So I'm just gonna go with CSX 47XX CP109 in the snow. There, that's a unique identifier. And he going, yeah, right around. All right. Looks like I'm going to sort this by name. I'm going to delete these 12. I'm going to call this probably a night here. I can do a quick preview of what we're going to see tomorrow. A lot of fun stuff tomorrow. I mean, we got the train going over there, doing its thing. We got another 4700 Mac. Again, these are non-Conrail. These are bought new by CXS. They don't have the marker lights on them. Springfield terminal stuff. More CSX stuff, probably some Dash 8s. We got Sunsets. We've got signals with seed boards on them. We got Twilights. We got new interlockings. And we got some Sunsets. So that's all going to be tomorrow. Hope you all tune in. Let's see if we got any questions on the big board. No more. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. It's going to be another quick one. Well, not quick. It's not going to be as quick as tonight, but it's going to be pretty quick. Hope you got a lot out of it. I was able to show you how I do some of my editing and some of my research into how you name your photos. Always name your photos well. Seriously, it drives you up in the Google searches, and you don't have to be worrying about metadata that gets lost. If you give them a good file name, it's the gift that keeps on giving. No matter what. Anyway, I will see everybody tomorrow, probably same time. Well, not same time. I'll hopefully make it a little earlier, 9 and 10 o'clock. You guys got better things to do on a Sunday, like watch a football game or go to